This is The Practicing Christian, and this report is on the question of how do y'all bless the poor? We need this useful term, y'all, to point out that when Jesus spoke about helping the poor, he wasn't talking so much about us as individuals helping the poor, but about us as a community doing this. More than a century ago, we started to get the idea that the poor should be helped by a community giving them things like grants of money, boxes of food, and well-trained social workers. And so far, it doesn't seem to work as well as we'd like. Now, people are fed, some housing provided, along with advice and good counsel, but the percentage of the down and out seems not to have changed greatly. So, how much better does it work with a community helping them? If indeed it's at all better in any way, let's look at a few ways that this works. Lesson number 1, and it's the one big lesson, giving poor people money is often the last thing we should think of. Priests and ministers often have a supply of handout cash for distributing when people come through the door, hungry or cold. It may get them a decent meal or a space at a shelter, and when they say, "Thank you," and walk out the door, we have told them what value God places on them. Maybe as much as $20. Rarely a cup of coffee. And caring conversation? Dream on. There's no time for that. What troubled people in most instances want and need is to know that there are people who care about them. Not people who care about the poor, but people who care about them. And where they can find an opportunity to end their wandering and settle down to something resembling a decent life. Now, don't tell me how many people you've heard or read of or even met who just want to keep moving. Of course there are many of those, but most people want to end that pointless movement from one gray city to another. And they walk away from those of us who really don't want to spend time with them. This is why, although many people won't take you up on it, it's better to ask a man on the street asking for a handout if he'll join you for lunch at a nearby restaurant, given that you have the time, of course. Time together. You're inviting him into your space. You listen to him. You talk with him, not at him. Remember Jesus' healing. With hands, with spittle, with mud, with words directed at this man. Contact is a healing force. Another thing that they want and need is to be with people where they can give of themselves and contribute to the life of the group. Yeah, I know there are people who don't, etc., just as I wrote a moment ago about people not wanting to settle down. But most poor people are rather shy. They would love to be able to contribute to a group, but they're not likely to quickly offer to help with something, and part of that is that they often feel useless. Therefore, the only way for them to make a contribution is for someone to ask them if they would like to. Well, there's so much more we could mention here. Let me now just add one important item. Ask them their name. Most people looking for a handout rarely are asked who they are. If you have a mobile or a pad, key in or write down that man's name. Ask him if you spelled it correctly. You will have just created a space in which he is known for who he is. Doesn't seem like much, but it beats, "Hey, you fella," beats that all holler. Then say something like this: "I need to be out the door in a few minutes, but tell me something about yourself." Then when you need to leave, say, "Evan, I want to pray for you today and the rest of this week. Is that all right with you?" Now wait for his answer. Then if he says yes, tell him, I'm going to pray that you'll find a reason to be here and a way to stay. And that you'll come back to see me, and perhaps there'll be something I can do to help that I haven't thought of today. And I want you to pray for me, that I'll be the kind of man that you want me to be. Will you do that, Evan? And if you have a few moments and a few dollars, you might call out to the cashier as you're leaving that restaurant. Hey, Charlie, my friend here, Evan, may come back later for a bite more to eat. Here, this'll cover the tab. Catch you later. Now, back to the business of y'all. While you've been acting as an individual, you're really one of the soldiers in God's reconnaissance units. If you see this man again, you can invite him to meet other soldiers of Christ, your friends, who have a similar view as you of the right way to bless the poor. They can invite him to come to a men's group or a Bible study with them, find out what his background is, perhaps connect him with people similar in job training, education, home state, so forth. And perhaps all this will connect him with still more people. And if all goes really well, you'll be able to get him into, for example, a working group of Christian men who help prepare homes for the poor, or who read the Bible and other materials to the blind, or who sing in an ensemble group, or plant vegetables, or whatever. And he may become part of y'all. When Jesus healed, many people focused on the illness, the blindness, or whatever. They often miss the reality of Jesus making a deeper contact with a man or woman than what a handout, or today, a clinical referral, can offer. When Jesus brings salvation to us, he doesn't just cure some physical affliction in us. He invites us into his kingdom. He calls us by name. He wants to see us again. He listens to us. He feeds our souls, not just our bellies. When I was a kid, I told myself, I can't heal like Jesus did. He just went zap, and a man was cured. Well, now I know better about Jesus, about his healing grace, and about who he's called me to be. Serve then. Be the king's right arm.